Kyoto is a modern city of 1.5 million people, but it was also the imperial capital for over 1,000 years. So it's no surprise that it has thousands of culturally and historically important sites and buildings. In 2 days, we've only enough time to visit the most photogenic of these places. Our first stop is Tenryū-ji, the main temple of one of the main sects of Zen Buddhism in Japan. The temple was founded in 1339 and construction completed in 1345. Over the years, the buildings have been destroyed by fire and war and have been rebuilt. Most of the current buildings date from the early part of the 20th century. The garden and the Shojin pond are designated a special place of scenic beauty of Japan. We're lucky to be here early to avoid the crowds at this popular site. The path leads us up to the upper garden. The Tohoden, built in 1934, is the newest of the major buildings. The earliest flowers are starting to appear. Next to Tenryū-ji is the bamboo forest. The path meanders through a grove of tall, stately bamboo. We come out on the shore of the Katsura River. We can't pass up the wildlife, or the semi-wild. On the way back to the bus, we pass through the graveyard for the monks of Tenryū-ji. Our next stop is Ryōan-ji. The temple is famous for its Zen garden. 15 stones of different sizes are carefully composed in 5 groups, surrounded by white gravel, which is carefully raked every day by the monks. The stones are placed so that the entire garden cannot be seen at once from the veranda of the hojo. And only 14 of the boulders can be seen from any angle. The only vegetation is moss around the boulders. When the garden was first built is unknown, but most experts date it to the second half of the 15th century. The kuri, or main temple building, has some beautiful painted screens. The beautiful water garden at the entrance to Ryōan-ji was built in the 12th century when this was the estate of the Fujiwara clan. One more temple before lunch, Kinkakuji, the temple of the Golden Pavilion. The original pavilion was built around 1397. It survived wars and fires until 1950, when a novice monk burned it down. The current building was built in 1955 and is faithful to the original design, with the top 2 floors being covered in gold leaf. The pavilion sits over Mirror Pond, which contains 10 small islands arranged in ways to represent famous places in Japanese tradition. Kinkakuji is very popular. Here visitors pitch 5 yen coins. If the coin lands in the bowl, you'll have good luck. For 100 yen, you can get your fortune in English, Chinese, or Korean. It's lunchtime, and we stop at Kushikura, a Yakitori restaurant. Yakitori means grilled chicken, but there's a lot more on the menu. Yakitori is usually bar fare, served on small communal plates. This dish was good, but we were wondering what it was. No more temples today. We're outside Nijō Castle. It was completed in 1626 as the home for the Tokugawa shoguns. This is the Ninomaru Palace. We'll skip it, no photography inside. We head for the Ninomaru Gardens. I'll bet this place is spectacular at cherry blossom time, and in fall colors. The shogun had enemies, so he had 2 concentric moats, and doors that were meant to keep out anybody he didn't want in. Lost in translation. I wonder what the sign really says. Now for something completely different. We're hitting the streets of the Gion District. This is the primary Kabuki Theater in Kyoto, built 1929. There are traditional Kyoto sweets, fresh roasted chestnuts for sale, all kinds of kokeshi dolls. The Gion District is famous for its geishas. These women are not geishas. We're here too early. The geiko, as they are called here, don't start going to work until after 5 p.m. It is the fashionable thing to do, though, to rent a kimono with your girlfriends and go to Gion. These 4 patiently modeled for us, front and back. The streets are lined with old-style tea houses where the geiko will entertain you for cocktails, conversation, traditional music, singing, and dance. In the morning, we try the commuter train to Fushima Inari Shrine. This is a very popular place and we want to beat the crowds. We rush past the main shrine to the Torii gates. The bright orange wooden arches traditionally mark the entrance to a sacred place. This shrine is dedicated to Inari, the god of rice, fertility, and industry, so successful businessmen will donate Torii gates in gratitude. Their names and dates of the donations are inscribed in black on the uphill side of the gate. We don't have time to go all the way to the top of Mount Inari, but there are Torii all the way to the top. If you're feeling grateful too, you can buy a Torii gate, priced for all budgets. At the end of the initial set of Torii gates, the fox is guarding a shrine. Foxes are the messengers to the gods, so they sit prominently on the Shinto altar. Imas are small wooden plaques, here in the shape of a fox, that people write their wishes on. You can also buy omikuji, random fortunes. If it's good, you keep it. If not, you tie it to these wires. Ahead are more Torii. And we're ahead of the crowd. Just a few people with the same idea. People-free pictures. This is the way to the top, but we don't have time. We turn back toward the main shrine, down a walk lined with Toro stone lanterns. Foxes are guarding this entrance too. Traditionally, they have the key to the rice granary in their mouth. A Shinto priest is saying morning prayers. The main shrine is busy with worshippers. And we're back to the meeting place by the main gate. Various food and souvenir vendors line the approach to the shrine. Everything from maniki neko, lucky cats, and wooden spoons to roasted snails. We find our bus and we're on the way to Nara. Our first stop is Nara Park, home to over 1,200 Sika Deer. We meet the deer wrangler. She will call a deer with her horn.
Oh, they're coming on in.
Then she feeds them acorns. Then we get a chance to feed the deer special crackers. We're at Tōdai-ji, and so are the deer. This is the great southern gate, 13th century. Next is the Chumon Gate. Then we get our first look at the Great Buddha Hall. It was rebuilt twice after fires. The current building was finished in 1709. Until 1998, it was the world's largest wooden structure, and it's 30% smaller than the original structure built in 752. So why build such a large building? To house a very large Buddha. The Great Buddha is 50 feet high. The golden halo behind him is 87 feet in diameter, and each of the 16 Buddha images on it are 8 feet tall. The bronze statue was built through 8 castings over 3 years, completing in 751. The Great Buddha is flanked by the Bodhisattva of wisdom and memory on his right, and the Bodhisattva of compassionate mercy on the left. At the back of the Great Hall are huge wooden statues of the guardian kings, Komoku-ten and Tamo-ten. On the front steps of the Great Hall sits Benzuru. The faithful make a donation and then rub the statue in the body part corresponding to the sick part of their body, so they will be healed. Then back out through the Chumon Gate. Lunch is waiting for us at Kikushuira. It's a pleasant surprise, a Western-style gourmet meal. Then back on the bus, headed north for Kyoto. We're going to Kiyomizu, but first we need to negotiate Matsubara Dori, a shopping street. There are restaurants and shops with all kinds of things, from fans, porcelain, children's kimonos, stuffed toys, candy, and much more. We eventually arrive at the main gate of Kiyomizu-dera. The name means pure water temple. It looks like kimonos are the young woman's fashion statement here too. The temple was founded in 778, and its current buildings were constructed in 1633. No nails were used in any structure. Jizu is the guardian of children, especially children who died before their parents. He's usually seen with a bib or children's clothes. The main hall has a large veranda that juts out over the hillside. There's a Japanese expression, to jump off the stage at Kiyomizu. That's the equivalent to take the plunge in English. It refers to an Edo period tradition that if you survived the 40-foot jump off the veranda, your wishes would be granted. Nowadays, worshippers rely on ima to convey their prayers and wishes. Here, monkeys are the messengers. And selfies record the moment. Visitors stand in line to catch and drink the water that this temple was named for. It's believed to have wish-granting powers. The view across the valley is another reason this place is so popular. Not far from the crowds, but a world away, is a tranquil garden. The 3-tiered pagoda is reflected in its still waters. Then back through the main gate to the crowds on Matsubara Dori. It's back to the hotel to pack up our souvenirs for the long flight home. In the morning, we're at Osaka's Kinsai Airport to board our flights. A very special thanks to Wolfgang and Michelle for organizing this trip, and to our fellow Wolfies for helping us view the world from a different angle, and to Naoko for showing us the best of her island of Hokkaido. And thanks to Junko for showing us the snow monkeys and explaining Kyoto. And we can't forget Mori-san, who fed the swans and safely drove us through the cold, snowy roads of Hokkaido.